It's crazy to say, but now might be a generational opportunity to buy a first home. The article also acknowledges that the differences in housing market conditions across various Canadian cities offering a more view for potential buyers depending on their location. So the opportunities there, even though we feel and the consumer feels that the market's high. And I get it. They're saying, hey, he just wants to sell real estate and make money. And that's why he's saying buy now. And this is an article in the paper. I'm reading this. And I truly believe this is the way to go. Niagara Falls Review, Hamilton Spectator, the Toronto Star, Global News. I go through them all. That's why I'm here. I'm here to share light on some of the articles and listen to this episode. Hello, everyone. This is Rob Golfi with REMAX, the Golfi team. Welcome to the Golfi Real Estate Show Niagara Edition with host Stephanie Vivier.
Hey, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing great. The weather is a little bit early, giving us a little bit down to the 13s, waking up at the 13 and the 22s in the afternoon. I still like the 28s, the 29s, but we're just getting a little taste of the September weather. I think a little bit too early, in my opinion. But the weekend is going to be really good. So but I guess it was just giving us a little bit of, hey, be prepared. This is what's going to happen next month. So, and I get it. So
it's reminding us all it will come to an end, but we'll hold on to it as long as we can. Not too bad though. The sun is really nice. We don't have any rain in the forecast for 7 days. So incredible.
It's awesome.
Breaking down some of the numbers of real estate sales in the area for the last few months. And if you've been sitting on the fence about actually getting into the housing market, it can feel a little infuriating because you see those prices and you go, wow, how am I ever going to be able to afford this? But Rob, this actually might be the very best time for people to get in.
Hey, it is. I'm going to tell you, and I've been saying this on the radio for many, many times. I do feel that, especially 2026 and 2027, the market we're going to have another boom. But right now, as interest rates are going to start climbing down, or not climbing, going down, you're going to find that more people are going to enter the market, and it's going to push people. Even though you think interest rates, the housing prices are high, it's not dropping. We bottomed out, I think, last year in December, November, December, and in parts of January, and then things started climbing back up again. And now, and it's been hovering at a certain level, but it's just been sitting, waiting for everybody to jump in. But don't jump in when everybody else jumps in. Jump in now. Get a long closing. Get a 4 or 5 month closing, and then you'll be laughing all the way. Now, the positive things about buying now, you got the potential buying opportunity, there was this the article was in the paper about saying it's crazy to say, but now might be a generational opportunity to buy a first home. The mortgage rates are starting to climb down. The economy is resilient, and the article also acknowledges that the differences in housing market conditions across various Canadian cities offering a more view for potential buyers depending on their location. So there is a lot, the opportunities there, even though we feel and the consumer feels that the market's high. Now, negatives about buying in this market: limited affordability. That's hard. It's tough. If you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Uncertain market outlook. We don't know what the future is going to hold, but in the past 70 years, housing prices always gone up. It's a solid investment. You can't go wrong with it. Minimal price declines. The improvement in affordability is described as modest, but with only slight declines in prices in some areas. So, right now, the prices have been going up and down, from $5,000 to $20,000 every month. So, but it's been hovering. Opportunities to get some good deals out there are happening. And dependency on economic conditions, you know what I mean? We're heavily dependent on continued economic resilience and falling mortgage rates, both of which are guaranteed. So if you're looking and you're thinking of buying, do it now. Get a long closing. That's my opinion, so that you can lock in at a lower interest rate. Get 4 months. And then what happens is you get the lower, I think banks lock in. I'm not sure if it's 3. I know it's 3 months. I'm not sure if it's 4 months. So let's say you get approved at a certain interest rate today. Well, if the interest rate goes down, you get the lower interest rate in the next 3-4 months. But if it goes up, at least you're locked in. So the key thing is to lock in, just get a 4-month closing, and I guarantee you, it'll be at least another half point that off what it is now, or more. Because if they do a 1/4 point drop in September, they're going to do another one in October. Boom, you close in November, and then it'll be a half decent interest rate, and you're all set to the races. But I truly feel, buy it now, negotiate a good deal. Give us a call. I'm telling you, give us a call if you want to talk to me personally. I have no problem. I talk to a lot of people, and I give them my advice on what to do and how to buy at a decent price and how to negotiate. We'll negotiate a super deal for you, and I'm involved in a lot of the transactions on our team, and I get my teammates, they call me, and we know how to negotiate and try to get a super deal if you're buying. Now, if you're selling, we know how to stand up against those tough negotiators. So we're good on both sides.
You know the tricks. You know what they're going to be coming with.
That's it. That's it, man. We're there. We're there. We know how to deal with it. We've got the experience and the knowledge. That's for sure.
You're Batman and the Joker, Rob. Both things.
But yeah, no. It is a thing that you gotta look for, and I get it. Like, they're saying, hey, it's, he just wants to sell real estate and make money, and that's why he's saying buy now. And this is an article in the paper. I'm reading this, and I truly believe this is the way to go. And I can't remember if it was in the Globe and Mail or the Toronto Star, but I go through the Niagara Falls Review, Hamilton Spectator, the Toronto Star, and Global News, and what else was there? Globe and Mail, Financial Post. I go through them all. That's why I'm here. I'm here to share light on some of the articles and see if I agree with them or disagree with them. I'm the guy that's living in the trenches. I am there. I know it better than some of these people that are doing it. I know what's going on. We do a crazy amount of business, and the thing is, we know the market better than anybody else does. We know. I remember when the market was dormant last year. There was a period for about 3-4 months. It was dormant. No, even if you reduce the price of the house, it wasn't selling. It was bad. And yeah. So I would tell people, just hang on. We just got to wait through this part. Unless you have to sell, we'll sell it. But if you can hang on and just wait through this little dormant time of the market. And most people didn't know it was dormant till after that dormant market was over. I know when it's actually happened. I know within a week to 2 weeks that we're in a dormant market, and sometimes I'll tell people, there's no sense reducing your price because you're not going to sell it anyway. So let's just hang on and just see what the market's going to do when it starts picking up.
You got your finger on the pulse, and you're always bringing us the data. That's what I appreciate about talking with you, Rob. Also, this week, there was a survey, CTV News. It was by Rate Hub, and it was showing, I think exactly outlining what you're saying, is that it's a good time to buy, which is that even house prices from June to July dropped. So the amount of income that you would require, and they had outlined, 12 big Canadian cities. Hamilton was on the list. So, $160,000 a year, I think, was what you needed to afford a house in Hamilton. I took some good from that, being that here in Niagara, if you don't make that much, there's options here. Like, we've got, a number of different markets where people, even if they were like in Hamilton working, they could actually get a house in the Niagara region.
Oh, yeah, they can. And like the Niagara region is becoming more affordable. I was just checking to see how many houses are under 600,000. And there is a lot. There's a lot to choose from. And I mean, they're coming up every day. And there's still a lot even under 500,000. I mean, if you have to get started and get it, buy a house. And I remember those $500,000 houses. They were all at 200,000 at one time, and not that long ago. But right now, the opportunities there, yes. And I know, I don't like the traffic on the Queen Elizabeth Way right now. I don't know if it's summer traffic, vacation traffic, or is this the new traffic that we have now? Because there's a lot of traffic on the highway, even in the middle of the day, like during the week, like at 2:00 in the afternoon. I'm going, what is going on here? And it's becoming heavy. So we'll find out how that traffic is after Labor Day weekend is over with. And we'll see how that goes. But I know a lot of people are still moving from the GTA down to Niagara, more so in Niagara Falls. We're seeing a lot of that, and it's just going to continue. And it just depends. Like, a lot of people can work remotely, so that if they have no problem moving down there, they can afford a house. They love Niagara Falls. And same thing in Welland. We're getting a lot of people retiring and moving to Welland. Welland is picked up. Welland has a funny market situation because they go up and they go down, they go up and they go down in price. It just depends on what's available. Sometimes because people go to St. Catharines, see what the prices are, then they'll go to Niagara Falls, and then they say, okay, let's check out Welland, and Welland would be a little less, but it is catching up. And Welland is not as quick to the Queenie. You have to drive on that the 406 for a bit before you get onto the Queenie. So it just depends where you want to be in Niagara. But it seems like St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, and even Stevensville is starting to pick up, and Chippewa is becoming very popular in the Niagara region.
Let's talk about the other side of things, Rob. If someone says, you know what, I just don't want to own, renting is another option for people, and it can be one that brings more happiness because there's certain stresses you don't have.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Okay, I get it. People that rent, it is stress-free. They move in. They don't have to worry about, maintenance of the property. They don't have to worry about any of that. And they don't have to worry about economic conditions of, the housing market or anything like that. But here's the tough part. If you're renting, you can get, now we're talking about not apartment buildings. We're not talking about, fourplexes or anything. I'm talking about, it could be like a townhouse or a single detached home. If you're renting and you get, you can be evicted because maybe the owner wants to sell, and you can't do nothing about it. Just say, hey, we're giving you notice to leave because we've sold the house, and especially. And I had one couple that one of my properties, they were being evicted. This is, I think, about 5 years ago or more. And she wanted her son, a couple wanted their son to go to the same school with the same friends in the same neighborhood. And she asked me if I would sell, if I'm planning on selling. I said, as long as you're living here and you're paying your rent on time, I says, I will not sell. And so I feel like I gave her that promise, and I'm seeing this kid grow up in this neighborhood. So there, yeah. So you know what I mean? So this kid's going to be able to, grow up and go to the same schools and have the same friends, and he's going to have memories of that neighborhood. But I mean, if you're a landlord and you think you're going to sell, or if you don't care, then you know what? Then you have to find out. You got to talk. Yeah, you know what? If you're a tenant, you got to talk to the landlord and find out what their expectation in the future is with the house that you're renting from. Because a lot of people are flipping properties right now. They keep it for a year or two and then selling it. And now you got to uproot. You're not planning on moving. You're planning on staying there longer, and now you got to move. That's the sad thing about renting. But the positive is that, you know what, you can go anytime you want. You don't have to worry about selling something. You don't have to worry about the maintenance. You don't have to worry about anything. But there's positives and negatives. But I'll tell you, the positive is that you'll build equity, and your net worth will be more if you own, and you can sell it, and that can help you with your retirement down the road.
Yeah, I guess it depends individual situations. And also, with the situation, you're able to keep that property and you're able to make that promise. But, sometimes, especially because there's a lot of small time landlords, people who own their own home and they have maybe one or two other properties, and, life happens and they may have to sell even if they, wanted to, or they kept that promise to their tenants, right? they go through a medical thing, they go through a divorce, they go through a job loss. And, they're not going to get rid of their home as the first one. It's going to be the secondary property that's going to go, or, in the case of divorce, often that's the best solution because both parties can walk away with the equity and there's no, disagreement over someone getting a better deal than somebody else. So, even if you have those assurances from landlords, understand that they're humans and go through human.
Right. And it's not in writing. It's just kind of a verbal kind of conversation thing. So, so you got to be careful. Another thing is, you know what, if you're living in a home right now and you're renting, go to the landlord, say, hey, listen, I want to sign another 3-year contract on the rental agreement so that, the next 3 years you're okay. But most people sign a 1-year rental agreement, and then it just goes month to month after that. But sign up. I had one tenant. They asked me, "Hey, can we we want to sign a rental agreement for another 2 years?" I said, "No problem." And we signed it up, and they want to stay there. They don't want to move, and they want to make sure that I'm not going to kick them out either. So it's I have no problem. But so if you're a tenant and you want to stay where you are, go to your landlord. Say, hey, can I sign another 2-year contract here? And they say, well, you're month to month anyway. Yeah, but I'm not solid here. I need to know that I'm solid because you could change your mind anytime and give me 60 days notice. But it's good to get that. And if that's if the landlord's up to it, right? You know what I mean? Sometimes landlords may say, no, we'll just keep it month to month. And then that's when you always got to worry every time, worry about being evicted and having to move. And that's the thing about renting. When you're renting, it's not easy.
Welcome back to the Golfi Real Estate Show, Niagara Edition. I'm Steph Vivier. Rob Golfi is here, and we are talking all things real estate with you. Something that often causes would-be homeowners lots of stress, using that word specifically because it is the mortgage stress test. Rob, for anyone who doesn't know, how does this work? It's that we need to make a certain amount of income, obviously, to cover our mortgage.
That's right. And so what's happening is the mortgage stress test, they're talking about, should we get rid of this mortgage stress test? I think we should. Nobody else really does it. And this is to protect the consumer, so that if let's say that the mortgage rate is 5%, well, you have to be approved for 7% mortgage. And so that in the event, if the mortgage does go up, you can afford 7%. Well, a lot of people, when they got approved for 2% and or 1.5%, and then the mortgages went up to 5.5%, that went way out the window. That's why a lot of people right now, a lot of them are selling their houses because it hurt them. But it hurts them in buying a house. Now, so here's the positive effects if you go because of the mortgage stress test. It says that increased access for first-time buyers. Yeah, they can afford the house more because a lot of buyers, especially with the mortgage rates the way they are now, they couldn't afford to buy a house. And boost to the housing activity. So if they get rid of it, the housing market will pick up. There's no doubt about it. So greater flexibility for borrowers. Without the stress test, borrowers would have more flexibility in choosing mortgage products and could, potentially secure lower interest rates. This would improve their purchasing power and make homeownership more attainable. Tailored policies for different markets, as suggested by industry experts. Removing the stress test could allow for more region-specific policies. This would enable better targeted interventions in markets. Now, the negative of the stress test is getting rid of it is potential for increased housing prices. Like if they get rid of it, the prices are going to go up because more people can afford. Risk of financial instability. So what happens is they get pre-approved at a certain mortgage rate and goes up 3-4%. They're going to have problems. Well, even with the stress test that we had, people still were in trouble. So regardless, it's going to happen. Return of bidding wars. Yeah, I could see that. Return of bidding wars. More people open up in the marketplace, and increased household debt. So what happens is when people were buying a house at 3% interest rate, 2% interest rate, and they had to qualify for like 4% or 5%. So when they move in, they buy the house. don't you think they're going to use that extra percentage to buy a vehicle or buy something? It's just human nature. Well, we need a new car. We need to buy, do some renovations. Let's borrow some money there. They're going to use up that 2%. They're going to use it up on something else. And regardless, that's just human nature for people. Cause now they get, whether, if they're not doing it with their mortgage, they're going to do it with their credit card. If they're not doing it with the credit, they're going to get a loan. But in addition, people will use that extra 2%, and they're back to where they are. So I do think that we should just get rid of it. So let people able to afford. A lot of people are priced out of the market because of that stress test, and it's frustrating. And I think even the REMAX president of REMAX Canada says to get rid of it, and I agree. I think they should get rid of it. And let's just be normal like any other country in the world. I mean, if the interest rates go up, they go up. Regardless, it's gonna hurt everybody whether you've got the stress test or not.
Yeah, lots of experts pushing for that. All right, let's head off to the West Coast now, Rob. And they have some new eviction rules there, but it might be putting home sales in jeopardy. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so the British Columbia want to implement a 4-month eviction notice to tenants. So if you are an owner of a home and you're renting it out, you could not give notice to your tenant 60 days to move out and find something else. Because of this evictions that are happening out there. So what they're saying is you have to give 4 months notice, which is a long time.
That's a lot. That is like a third of a year.
It is. And so it was hurting sales. And people don't want to wait 4 months to move into their house. Usually when people start looking for a house and buying it, they want to move in 60, 90 days max. But 60, they're usually moving in fairly quick, especially first-time buyers. Like 4 months, oh boy, like it seems like 4 months is forever, especially when you buy a house. So there were some advocates, and they said, listen, that's way too long. Nobody's buying. The houses aren't going to even go for sale. And buyers aren't going to buy them. You're just going to make the housing shortage even greater. So they dropped it down to 90 days instead of the 120 days. But it's still a little long. But it's better than the 120 days. But it's just it seems like the landlords always get the bad end of the deal on everything, especially in British Columbia, the landlord-tenant board is a lot quicker than it is in Ontario. But can you imagine if they implemented 120, like 4 months for eviction? I mean, we're already getting problems where tenants aren't moving out for 10 months or a year, and if they appeal it, they can stay there for a lot longer. And the landlord-tenant board doesn't care. It's not like they care. They say, oh, too bad. Yeah, it's your loss, and that's it. I mean, I would love to see some of these judges own properties and deal with that, and then it'd be a little bit better. But they got to change the landlord-tenant board here in Ontario. I mean, they brought more people in to work, but still not enough. It's just it is a bad situation that's happening out there between the landlord and the tenants, and they just got to get it back to the normal, get it back to them. You don't pay the rent, you got to get evicted, and tenants are becoming tenants are doing it regardless. They don't care. They don't care. They're ruining somebody else's life, and it's not a good thing.
Yeah, and they know they're not going to get pushed out. Hopefully Ontario doesn't see this extended timeline and decide to do it here because, Rob, after 60 days, you find out someone's not going to leave. Okay, you can start taking measures. And as you said, we don't have an expedient process here. But man, if you had to wait 4 months and then you find out they're not going to move out, wow.
Yeah.
What a headache.
Oh, I know. It's terrible. BC seems to be usually the province that usually implements things, and then Ontario kind of watches it and sees how they're doing, and then they might implement some things. But yeah, BC, Vancouver, they're the leaders in usually in Canada when they implement new things, and we follow and watch, see if it works. If it doesn't, then we just say, okay, it didn't work for them. Let's just not try it here yet.
We got problems.
That's it. No kidding.
All right. Well, we're talking about rental, so I think it's the perfect opportunity to talk about the Golfi team property management team. And this is a really great option for somebody who is, dipping their toes into investing, or maybe even someone who is really into investing and they just, need to offload some of the responsibility. So tell us about the program, Rob. How does it work?
So we have a Golfi property management, and it's funny though. Like I used to manage my own properties all the time. Personally, I know what it is. I'm a landlord myself. So there's always issues going on, especially if you own multiple properties. So just for instance, last week I get a call from the city saying, hey, I have a small commercial plaza. Sometimes people go there and dump their garbage beside the plaza. I don't know why. They just got nowhere to go. So they got to dump it on me and let me deal with it. So the city, they don't care if it's your garbage or not. They just want you to clean it up. And they give you like 48 hours. If you don't have it done, you're going to get a fine. So things like that we take care of. So I called my property management company. We have a maintenance guy, and I say, hey, listen, can you go there and get rid of that garbage before I get fined? And so we do that. He's got a list of things to do every day. He's driving around. He's got a little minivan, and he's got all his tools in there and deals with all the small little problems that maybe a landlord doesn't want to deal with himself, right? Let's say if you own a property and it's out of town, and you don't want to drive there for a small thing or even look at it, a small thing. We take care of that. So we have a full-time maintenance guy on the road every day, and he's got a list of stuff to do. And they'll change batteries, when the 1 year mark for when the battery's a year old, and to make sure the smoke detectors are working. But as a person that has a property and renting it out and don't want the headaches and have the investment, it's the way to go. Like for instance, some of the things like. The one thing that we have is we're not only a real estate team, but we also have a property management company. We do credit checks on every single person. We do not accept anybody else's credit check. If they hand it to us, another realtor hands it to us, we do not accept it. We are doing our own credit check because we don't want to make sure it's not fraudulent. Sometimes tenants will have their credit check and they'll give it to their agent, and their agent gives it to us. We say, sorry, they're going to have to fill this out. And if they don't want to fill it out, we're okay with it because obviously there's a reason they don't want to fill it out. You'll save a lot of time. Efficient tenant management, we take care of it. We have everything's recorded down on a journal of everything that has been done, taken care of with the tenant, so that anytime if there's any issues that has to go to the landlord tenant board, we can deal with it. We got a history. We got it logged. We have it all set. So they can't. I mean, if we're organized, it's hard for them to battle against us. Maintenance and repairs, we take care of all that stuff. Like anything, if anything needs to be done, quickly and adjusted, we take care of it. We got a hotline after hours just in case something happens, in the middle of the night, flood, laundry hose blowing or anything like that we've seen that many times. We also know the market insight because we're a real estate team. We know, and we can actually investigate more than the average property management company, because we are realtors. We can find out if they're telling the truth on their application, if the landlord is the name of the landlord at the previous home, because we have information that most people don't have. Again, 24/7 availability, scalability. It is tough to manage your own property because sometimes landlords have a tendency of procrastinating getting stuff done. We don't. We take care of it. Like they'll say, okay, I'll get there. We'll take care of it. And time goes by, a week goes by, and the tenant's upset. So that's where they can get you in trouble if, let's say, they don't want to start paying the rent. So we take care of that. So if you own a property and you want somebody to manage it, or you want to change the companies that you're with, give us a call. We'll give you all the details of what we're about and how we deal with it. And I put my name on it because our reputation is important, and we want to make sure that we can service you very well and you won't be disappointed.
Yeah. And for anyone who hasn't had a tenant before, if you're just looking to get into rentals, you really can't underestimate the minuscule amount of tasks that your tenants will not do. Like, you will get a call to put in a new light bulb. That will happen, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
You have a busy life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like, can't you do it yourself? Well, people are renting. And for kind of the benefits that you outlined earlier, Rob, these are the kind of people who just don't want to do those things. And you know what? Nothing wrong with it. I guess they know who they are, but landlords don't always understand the responsibility they're taking on. And you need to maintain that relationship. Like, procrastinating on those kinds of things. We all have good intentions, right? Yeah, I'll get to it, which is fine in your own house. But if someone's depending on you to come and do that, you can really start to get that rift between the two, and you need to have a good relationship.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? The battery changes are so important. A lot of landlords don't do it. I had one of my houses burned down, and thank God the smoke detector worked, because that guy, the tenant there, there was a grease fire. It was his fault. He fell asleep on the couch, and then a grease fire happened on his in the kitchen. And he did say, he goes, if the smoke detector woke him up and he got out of the house. But now, if I had a dead battery there, he'd be a dead person today, and he would have been engulfed in smoke, and who knows what would have happened. So I would have been in trouble if I didn't have that battery up to date. So those are the smallest thing can make the difference of your life in dealing with headaches and situations that could have been prevented.
And that's the Golfi Property Management Team. You can find out more about all of the services that the Golfi team has to offer at their website, robgolfi.com. That's robgolfi.com. And why not give the number one REMAX team a call, the number one REMAX team in Canada, that is, at 905-641-0308. Welcome back. This is the Golfi Real Estate Show, Niagara Edition. I'm Steph Vivier, and Rob Golfi is our guest today.
So you know what? It's just... I think right now is the last hurrah for people to do things. I think the C&E, when did they open up? When does the C&E open up?
It's open. Yeah.
Is it open?
Weird food. Yeah. They're doing all the kind of deep fried Oreo with pickle and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, so it's open, but you're right. That is one of those reminders that it's all drawing to a close.
Do you know what the C&E, I remember as a kid walking through, my parents would take us, and you know how they have all the different, games and stuff. And I don't know if this is a psychological nightmare in my head, but I remember this one guy in the PA, doggy, doggy, doggy. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, yeah, like I'm older than you are, so you didn't experience that. But anybody that went to the C&E in the 70s, I'm telling you, you'd be walking by, and I can't remember what the game was. And this guy on the PA system would just go doggy, doggy, doggy. And I think it was just a game, and it did affect me, because obviously I remember it, and I think, what the heck is this? And that's the only thing I remember. One of the things I remember of the C&E going there, but yeah, like I haven't gone in a long time. I gotta, it's probably worth going. I like the exhibition centers, where you have the different buildings, and you walk through and you see different things and unique things that are out there. But and the C&E was kind of like the ending of the summer, and I think, I don't know if kids go to it as much as I was growing up. I don't know. Like, Stephanie, like, how about you? Like, did you go there almost, like, was it like almost a yearly event for you guys? I don't know.
Well, I grew up in Essex County, so, that would be a 4-hour trip for us to go to the C&E. But I remember hearing about it because of the crazy foods, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's always kind of the thing. Did you ever, would you try some of these crazy foods? Like for example, a wasabi ice cream. They have wasabi ice cream this year.
Yeah, you know what? I probably didn't try that. Like, I mean, I probably had a regular ice cream. I mean, I grew up with immigrant parents, right? So they're not going to be spending foreign ice cream. They want to make sure, if you're buying you an ice cream, it better you better know what you're getting because I'm not buying you another one. That's it. So it's like, you know what I mean? They were watching their money all the time. But yeah, they took us and I remember they took us every year and we just went to the CNE. It was just part of our summer kind of thing. That they would do. We ended up going to the beaches. Long Beach was an area that we went. We always went to Long Beach, and that was something we went every year, probably 2-3 times a year. Being Italian, we'd have the lasagna, the fresh, warm lasagna coming out. The whole park can smell that. and then what else did we do? Just different things that everybody else does today. I remember my mom would take us to Chippewa Beach in Niagara Falls, in Chippewa, that beach there by the bridge. And during, like, when my dad's working, and so what are we doing? Okay, well, that was like a close beach because I grew up in Niagara Falls. And we would go there and hang out there. But that beach is jammed right now. Like, in a hot day, like, it is packed. And you can't even find a parking spot, let alone just get on the beach. Like, it was just a small beach, nothing big. And it was those are the little things that we would do. What else did we do? Like, I remember riding my bike along the parkway all the time, going to different islands and riding through there. It was a lot of fun. Summertime fun. I enjoyed it.
Memories to last a lifetime. Did you bring your kids to the CNE too?
We did do that. Not as much as my parents did, but we did do that. But I want to tell you a funny story. So back when I was probably about 14, 15, 16 years old, I used to ride a lot. And I remember riding on the Parkway, and that's when a lot of Americans came to Canada. Like, there was, like, you didn't really need passports back then. You just,
you could kind of just walk over and you were here. Yeah.
I got pulled over twice on my bike.
On your bike?
Twice on a motorcycle cop. Twice for speeding on the Parkway.
What?
Yes.
What? How fast were you going?
I was flying. But see, there was a lot of traffic. There was a lot of traffic on the Parkway, right? And I was just flying, right? And then this motorcycle cop sees me flying like crazy through, like, just like on the side. I'm just going.
Yeah.
Like, I'm enjoying my ride. And I remember and I was pulled over twice. I couldn't believe it. And he pulls me over. He goes, "Do you have a driver's license?" And I did. I was 16. I remember I did, but I said I don't.
Right.
He goes, "I can give you a ticket if you have a driver's license." And I go, "Oh, I didn't know. Like, I'm just riding my bike." But I was, when you're young and you got so much energy, and I'm like, if you're riding, and I was riding about 30 kilometers an hour at that time, and because I know I did ride up until 5 years ago, and I had an odometer on my bike, and it showed I was doing an average of 27 kilometers, 26, 28. So at 16, I'm sure I was hitting at least 30 kilometers an hour flying. So, and cars are standstill in traffic. So when you're going by them, any guy can just open up a door and boom, I'm done. And but yeah, I was pulled over. I'll never forget. I was pulled over twice. I used to ride my bike everywhere. I went across the border on my bike, and I used, I'd ride along Military Road there and back and all over the Parkway, from Niagara to Lake, all the way around. I couldn't believe, and when I rode as an adult, many years later, 25 years later, I couldn't believe how much I rode, because now I could see the kilometers that I rode, because I started riding the same areas and destination that I did when I was 15, 14 years old. And I could see, I go, wow, I rode this much. I didn't have the shoes to ride. I didn't have the shorts, the bikers shorts.
Yeah,
I just rode. Yeah. I rode, and I did have the bike. I had a Millie bike and Bianchi bikes. I bought them. I bought the Italian bikes that I used to ride. And, but yeah, like I was an avid, I guess you could say I was a cyclist back then, but I did it for the love. I loved riding my bike back then. But it's a little more dangerous now because everybody's looking at their phones, and I would be scared because I'd be, I was only riding very early in the mornings when I did ride up until probably 4 or 5 years ago, just because I didn't want to take a chance, because everybody's always looking at their phones, and I don't want to be that one that somebody kind of looked at their phone and all of a sudden they hit somebody, and then I got to live crippled or dead.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no. Yeah, a lot of experiences as a kid. But the one thing, let's talk about what's been going on in the first 20 days of real estate in the Niagara region. So I was just taking a look at the numbers, right? And so, for instance, Niagara Falls, in the first 20 days of June, there were 64 sales. In July, there was 52, so it dropped. And then in August, so far the first 20 days, it's 64. So July was a tough month. I'm going to tell you something like that, but not in all areas. But St. Catharines had a great June. In the first 20 days, 104 sales. July, it drops to 78. And then August, it bumps so far up to 91. So August is looking pretty good so far. Welland, 39 sales. So they didn't do so good in June. But in July, 53. So they were up in July. And then August, so far, they're down at 43. That's crazy.
But up from June, I guess,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So Fort Erie, in June, they did 44 sales in the first 20 days. July, 32, so it dropped. And then August at 33, so it kind of stayed the same way. Now, just to compare, see what Hamilton's doing. So Hamilton in June, this is Hamilton surrounding areas. They did 361 transactions in the first 20 days of June. In July, it dropped to 334. And so far in August, it's down to 279. So they're way down in numbers in Hamilton. So I do feel that it looks like Niagara's finally picking up, because Niagara was down in the months before. Like like Niagara houses were staying on the market too long and they weren't selling as fast. It took time. There's guys out there that put their house on the market in January, February this year, and they're just finally getting offers now. That's how tough and brutal the Niagara market is. So if you have a house up for sale, and if you are getting a little bit of action on it now, chances are you'll probably get an offer coming soon. And it just sometimes it's timing. Timing is a factor. That's why realtors always ask for, a 4-month contract, 6-month contract, because they're investing money into marketing your house and selling your house, and they need to know they're going to get that return on investment. That's what we do anyway, because we spend a lot of money on our clients' homes, and we want to make sure that we're going to recoup that investment. And sometimes markets change week by week, month by month, and in some cases year by year. So you have to be very, very careful when you're putting a house up for sale, because especially if you're just asking a little bit more than what the market price is. And eventually the market will catch up to it if it, and hopefully it does, especially now, with interest rates. They're talking about, we got another interest rate announcement that's going to happen right after Labor Day. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah. And also this week, Rob, we saw some good inflation numbers in terms of inflation coming down a little bit. So, all indicators pointing to, perhaps we will see that other cut. And at that point, then we'll have, a 0.75 percentage point drop. You mentioned the cooler weather. I wonder if September might be that month where we start to see the action. I hope so. And you know what I'm hoping, because the first 2 quarter drops that they did with the interest rates didn't do anything. Really, I don't think if you look at the numbers, like June, in most cases, was better than it was in July and August, and that's those were with interest rate drops. So the Bank of Canada is noticing that. So now, do they do another quarter drop, or do they do a 0.5 point drop? So they should have done a 0.5 point drop at the beginning and see how that happened. But they're tiptoeing away, and it's not changing the economy. It's slowing it. Like it's taken forever, and people
have to renew their mortgages, and they got to make a decision. And if they go variable, it's going to be a little higher. If they go lock in for 5 years, then they can lock in at 5 years, and meanwhile interest rates will still drop. And so it's a tough situation for people what to do. And I get it. And some people are selling their houses because even with knowing that the interest rates are dropping, it's still not enough for them to afford the house still. They need. These guys signed up for a 5-year term at 1.5%, 2%. Those are great interest rates, and but it's gonna be tough. And I hope they do at least a half a point, but we'll find out, I guess. And the Bank of Canada already knows what they're going to announce, but we won't know till September.
We gotta wait. We gotta wait for all of that.
We gotta wait. Too bad.
Does that make it a good time to list then? If we, get that other drop, and if people are a little bit on the fence?
I think the market will be good in September, October. I really do, because the summertime was not good. We had a great June. Like our June sales were like through the roof. Our July sales, it was probably one of my worst Julys that I've had in many years, and it looks like things are pretty good, going good in August so far. So we got another probably 8-9 days left in August, and we'll see how that turns out. And I'm hoping that it'll be like other good Augusts that we had in the past. But I'll tell you, July this year wasn't good for a lot of different areas in the Hamilton, Niagara, Halton area. It's been a tough go out there.
Rob, always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're listening to News Talk 610 CKTB.
Yeah, picking the wrong realtor, that'd be a big mistake. That cost me money.
Hi, Rob here, and hey, we get it. We get that the right realtor makes all the difference. My advice, talk to 3 realtors, including one from the Golfi team. Compare and you'll see no one gets results like Golfi because of the millions we invest in marketing, getting you the most money in the least amount of time.
The Golfi team, Golfi gets it sold.
Pick the right realtor. Just Google Golfi.